Yeah, I just started the stream because we had a problem on it last time. So
Oh, yeah. It's been interesting because of these strong energies. It's been also a bit of a problem to get on, and the internet's been kind of
yeah.
very finicky. So I'm hoping that we won't have any glitches on my end because it seems to slow right down and then it just pauses. You get that spinny wheel thing going on. So
Oh,
um,
really?
yeah, so we'll see what happens. I mean, it's been like that for the last few days, so we're going to go with that.
Here, I'm going to tag you.
Anyways,
I'm going to
I'm
tag you.
going. All right,
Huh?
okay. You tag me and then I'll share.
I'm going to. Well, if I tag you, unless you have it, it depends on your settings.
Yeah, because I want to share it on a few of my platforms. So
Okay, hang on. So it's already on. I'm just going to tag you. There we go.
okay,
Boom, boom. All right. It's tagged.
okay.
All right. So we got a few people here, 31 people in the house. We still got another 30 or 40 seconds.
Okay.
So you've been having trouble with the internet over there?
Yeah, yeah. It got stable for quite a while, and then it just started to act up again for whatever reason. And so the last little while, it's been really weird. Let's put it that way. Uh,
What
anyways,
what
what else
hasn't
is how
what
we
hasn't been weird?
exactly?
What hasn't been weird?
Okay,
Um,
there we go.
I've
So,
slept. I think I've slept like no more than 8 hours in the last 3 days. I don't know what that's about.
well, there's a lot of things going on in regards to people's sleep. Some people need more. Some people can't get any sleep at all, or they get very little sleep. It depends on how the energy stimulates you. So it can trigger a lot of different things for you to be able to, be active. And yeah, so it's really hard to say because everybody has different experiences. And the thing is, we have different experiences because you're going to go through a phase you need a lot of sleep. Then there's going to be a phase that you don't need very much sleep. Sometimes you think you got it all working out, and then it changes altogether. So um, yeah, it's been interesting. I don't know how your dream states have been. If there's anything really crazy happening on your end too,
Well,
because
that's a good lead in. But well, I haven't slept, so there hasn't been that happening. But there has been. Uh, let's see. I want to say one was about 3 weeks ago, and then I don't know, 4 or 5 days ago, I've had a lot of conscious, stronger connections, into higher, I guess, higher, consciously being in higher dimensions, not in a really an even, well, I guess I would be in a meditative state, but
Mhm.
that's happened. But other than that, I mean, do you, do you even remember your dreams? I don't think you've ever mentioned.
Well, yes, I do actually. I usually, if I don't write it down or consciously make it aware to hold on to it, it doesn't last very long, and it can change fairly, uh, you know, um, how can I say it? It can fade away, and then you can't really
Yeah.
say, okay, this is exactly what I saw or experienced, or anything of that nature. But I'm having a tough time here. Hang on a second. Just give me a second.
All right.
I'll let you chat. I'm just, geez,
What's going on?
my, I'm typing something to
Oh,
get
I
my
got you.
stuff up here,
Yeah, I
and
got you.
uh, what's happening is the keyboard. It keeps. Oh, great. It's not going to happen. Okay, no problem. It's okay. I shared what I can, so that's
Such
it.
is life in the ascension.
Yeah, this is as good as it's going to get. So I'm not going to
So,
fight it anymore.
uh, I was telling Morgan, we both kind of came to the same conclusion about 5 days ago at the same time. So I guess there was some telepathic involved or something. And it was what, maybe like 5, 6 days ago. And I said, it sure feels like 30 days ago, and it feels like the same cycle, and I want to be ready this time." She goes, "Me too." We said, "Okay, but we've discussed it, so now we're ready." But that cycle that occurred, I guess, the latter part of June, going into the 7/7, like you got the 8/8, you got the 7/7,
Yep.
and it seems like this deep. God, how many times have we said that in 2 years? But you see it. People are talking about it everywhere. I mean, so is it the same energy? And if it is or it didn't, is it going to continue through August?
Well, yes, absolutely. I mean, this particular wave that we have now is going to about the middle of May before it changes over again.
Middle of what? Of
May,
August?
August.
Oh, middle of August. Okay.
And it could go a little longer than that by a few days or something like that. So I would say anywhere from 15 to the 21st of August is what this is supposed to carry.
Yeah.
Before it changes again, but every so often we get a burst of it. So what it's right now, it's doing, it's actually helping us erase who we think we are. Or have thought who we are, making space for us to be able to connect with ourselves so that we actually connect with our truer self. Now, it's not going to come spontaneous in that way, because as it's erasing, all of this stuff that's coming up is actually, you're kind of getting accustomed to who you are, because there's a lot of us that have a resistance and have such an invested energy, time, and focus on our life. So every time that part of the erasing, sometimes fear comes up. Of course, you want to clear the fear, but the fear is like, I don't know who I am anymore, or the fact is I can't remember what happened the other day, or anything of that nature. Now, what ends up happening, if you are doing something that is old, like a regular pattern that continues to play out over and over again, then that's the part that vanishes very quickly. If it's something brand new, something that you really have not established a pattern, you'll have a tendency to remember that and kind of use it in a way moving forward to kind of create a template of what the truer you unfolding is about. And when I'm talking about the older you, it's the programmed version that was really related to the inverted matrix, inverted 3D, 2D, and all that stuff that's going on. So a lot of people are going to find that their memory is very finicky. People will forget things. I don't know, even in the dream state and stuff like that, it will trigger what it needs to trigger. But at the same time, what ends up happening is that we will have the experience. It does whatever it needs to do so that we do not linger in it. We lose it. So, that's why a lot of people don't remember their dreams, but people that did find it that it's there and then it disappears of sort really quickly. And I'm finding that myself. Now, where it's important, I remember it. Where it's not important, it just kind of fades away, because there's a lot of times the dreams is staged up to something. And then once it's achieved what it needs to achieve, then it just kind of disappears of sort, if you want to call it that. Now, a lot of us are having dreams. Of course, we're using dreams for many, many different ways to use our creativity, our imagination, but to also create scenarios to help us purge, to be able to introduce ourselves to our capacities and so forth. The dream state is also connection with others. And a lot of people may have dream states where they meet up with other high vibe people, or people that actually step in and give them a message or something like that, because there was no boundaries at that point, in the sense of saying, I'd like to hear from Todd what he has to say from this perspective. And then that version of you will appear, giving them exactly the message they need to receive, so that it triggers them to, oh, okay, got it. Now, sometimes the dreams also help us to connect with others, feeling so that you're not feeling alone. You're not feeling that, you're just doing this and there's no backup, because the dream state is used on many, many different levels for us to assist us. And it's become more purposeful than ever before. Because years ago, dream states, could be prophetic, could have different things, but it could be a lot of nonsensical stuff. But at this time, most of it may have some parts that may seem nonsensical, but it's not, because whatever's in there, even though you don't understand it now, you will understand it later, or at least it plants the seed in there so that at some point, even though you don't remember the dream so much, you already got the consciousness within that dream that makes total, okay, got it. Now I see what that's all about, and it becomes very clear. And at times it's like I can't really understand what was there or anything of that nature, but now there's a familiarity, because many of us will feel that we see something and it's like familiar. It's like, did I experience this? I don't remember doing this, and so forth. And that would have been something that they primed themselves in a dream state, so that sometimes people call it deja vu, whatever it is, but in a sense they've already primed it up. Like, you could use dream states to also look at, like, how are you going to shape your life forward? So in a sense, instead of sampling it, you would create dream states that you kind of sample what it would look like if you made a certain decision or something of that nature. And then, because you're not quite ready, when the time comes, that kind of fork in the road sort of thing, I'm just using that as an example, then it's like, wow, this one feels familiar. I'm going to go that route, because you've already experimented it and already determined in the dream state that was the most viable for you. A lot of times there's messages there for you to look at certain areas in your life that you may be ignoring. And if it's necessary, it can trigger emotions. And that's good too, because then you can follow the emotions back and see what the story behind that. So the dream state is very loaded, but it doesn't stop there, because some people are doing back-end work too. Back-end work on, say, connecting with their soul family, or connecting with, other dimensional beings and so forth. I'm not saying everybody, but there are people that do that. In my own personal case, my dream state stuff is very minimal in comparison to the back-end work stuff that goes on. And, it could be dropping into people's bodies and, maneuvering that body to kind of, change certain things and whatever else, or take on certain experiences and then redo it. Now, the last few days I've said no more, because it's taken a toll on my physicality and so forth. And I've been really out of commission for a while now. But at the same time, it was, okay, I think we're going to have to share this workload to others, because I don't want to be the only one taking it on. Not that that's true, but I seem to get the pretty nasty cases at times. And, I love my brother, sister souls that are in other dimensions that do not have, the human form, and say, well, what's so hard about that? And I go, why don't you embody for a little while and then see what the heck that feels like? Because it's not quite what you think, because you guys are not carrying the same type of bodies like all of us are here on planet Earth. You don't have the same appreciation. And if you did at one point, it's so long ago that you don't really remember how much of that was impactful, especially where we are now. So that's kind of a lead up to our conversation around the dream state. But the other thing that people are doing right now is that, we're opening ourselves in such powerful ways. Do you hear any background noise, or is that in your end?
It's me. I turned it off.
Oh, okay. No problem. No, I just thought maybe there's something going on here. What was I saying? Now I forgot.
Talking about dreams.
Yeah, we're talking about the dream. Oh, right. With the energies that are coming in right now, it is in a very powerful way bringing up a lot for us to really kind of take on these higher frequencies, because we all come with a certain range of frequency. Okay. So we have the low end and the high end. And usually we come in with that when you choose to take on a body. Now, in most cases, we all start off at the very low bottom end of your frequency. That whole band of frequency that we're talking about at this point is that it gives us the opportunity for us to use the lower ranges, experiment, experience, do whatever, and then it starts to go up. Now, however, because we've been playing this inverted game for so long, we kind of got really stuck in the lower range of our frequency. And that's sequence one, because many of us already arranged for a second sequence to actually change our journey. So I'm not saying everybody, for example, some people say, well, what's my purpose? Well, you come here with a certain amount of things you want to do, and this is the range of frequency you're going to use. And each level of frequency gives you more consciousness, more accessibility, more flexibility within your consciousness, but how you shape and direct things in your life. Then once you achieve the maximum and you've stabilized yourself the maximum, you can now enter into the next range. And that range will have slightly different or greatly larger different direction of your life. And usually when you've crossed that to the next stage, your life starts to change very powerfully. You feel more attuned to be able to make an impact on the world, for example. And so you may now change your purpose. You change your direction. You change from working in corporate world, now doing shows like Todd's doing, or no longer associating with, I need to have this stuff to feel good and whatever else, to, no, I'm here to be of service. I'm here to be part of this wave. And that's usually when you get to that other range, but you're starting low and then you start going up. So these energies that are coming in, it doesn't matter if you're in the lower tier or the higher tier, it's giving us the opportunity to be able to, each blast that we receive allows us to go higher and higher within the first range. Now, some of us are already in the second range or even third sometimes, but in the second range, but it's also doing the same thing. It's also bumping you up. And by doing so, what we emit energetically, the impact that we have, the connections that we make will change, because you will align more of those people in that frequency. The frequencies don't go up and down really. Okay, they go up and they stay and they just keep climbing. Its vibrations is different. Vibrations can fluctuate. Vibrations will fluctuate on your mood, by being triggered by an emotional charge, by having an old program come up, or having an interaction with somebody, and your vibrations can shift. Even your thought forms will shift your vibration. But the frequency doesn't really change. The frequency only goes one direction, and you don't really go down. So even though the vibrational component and the patterns will kind of dwarf or not, maybe you won't be able to see or connect to that same level, it's still there. So whatever, like for example, when people go through what people call spiritual awakening, you can't go back to sleep, because what you did is you nudged up your frequency and it won't go back down. Even if you're having a crazy day and you're just ready to kill somebody and you're just exploding or whatever it is, it still doesn't budge. You don't, it doesn't change. You don't lower by that, but what it overrides it is either emotional charge. So your vibration, yes, will drop, and you will now associate your reality according to that, but your frequency stays up. That's why people can't really go back. In a sense. Now, there is some, that have claimed that you can go back to sleep, but you can't. Your frequency will stay there, but what happened, there may be a disconnect that occurs where they're not using it for a period of time, but that doesn't change. And we do that ourselves as we go up. But these energies that are coming in right now are assisting with that too. and then also creating upgrades in those ranges. And a lot of people, it's pushing it right into the next tier. And then when you're getting into the next tier, you know, service to the whole or service to others takes a bigger leap and a bigger importance. But you never, this is the thing, once you get into those ranges, you realize that you cannot put anybody else ahead of you. You cannot say, I'm service to the world, but you don't serve yourself. And what I mean by that is like you put yourself down and say, oh, I am here to serve and it doesn't matter if I'm not doing well, or it doesn't matter if I'm managing or not. See, this is the thing. This is one of the things that we're working towards getting more refined, is that we're doing it with ourselves. And this is why we're going through where we're going. And at the same time, it's not like I have to get to this level before I can do my work. No, look at the shift that you went through, Todd. I'm just giving you as an example. We all have, everybody, you know, to some degree or another. You get to a point and it's like, oh, I got it all. I got it all figured out. I'm not only that, I am perfectly clear. And now I can start doing shows. No, what ends up doing, you get to that tier and say, it's time to shift. You start doing something because you can't do anything else, because you can't go back to the other way, but you're still working your stuff out, as we all are. You know, we're working our stuff out. And what we're talking about is we're facing those things that we stored away, or things that we have, you know, identified ourselves. But as you're doing that, the beauty of all of this, as you're working your stuff out, you not only can be more of service, but you have a good understanding, and you're also creating a path, because everybody is going through the same thing in one way or another. And there's such a relatability, because yeah, I'm going through this, I'm going through that, and yeah, I understand. And how did you know, and you're sharing from that, the rawness, the pureness of that growth. You know, it's not like I'm here and now I'll drag you guys all up here. No, it's like we're doing it all together, but I'm also a work in progress with you. But that makes it real and makes it relatable and makes it like a partnership of sorts, you know. So there's so many beautiful things that are occurring right now with that. And of course, all of these energies are coming in, and specifically now, because we're stepping into another level. It's like chopping some more of our layers of our association and connection to our old self. And that's going to change relationships. It's going to change your you know, your endeavor, where you put your focus, what you used to do, didn't do, because it's more of that chip. Now, I know this has been happening for a while, but this is kind of erasing what's not necessary. So it's helping in that. And it can create, like I said, discomfort sometimes, because letting go of who you thought, you know, we all thought we were, can be scary, because the ego loves that. The ego really, really goes, no, but this is who we are. No, you can't let that go. Look, you put energy, time, whatever, focus. This is the way it is. But it's not, you know, it's just an illusion, smoke and mirrors of sort of going on. And of course, as you can see, in the world, it's gotten even more chaotic, even more crazy. People are just making, you know, anybody that seems to deem themselves in some authority role or whatever it is, and even the ones that are make believe all the way through, are just making the most insane claims and mandates and whatever else. And this is great, because it's just pushing people to the point and say, okay, the game is over. We're not going to continue supporting this, because there's still some hardcore people that still want to hold on. And we see it all over the place. But, you know, you see more and more of them are getting to the point. And being fed up is okay. Feeling frustrated is okay, as long as you don't identify with it and you don't make that your new way. It's like, okay, now it's time to look at how do we change things. And the thing is, the beauty of it, we have the key, we have the power, all of us, to change anything and everything. And it doesn't have to take a long time. It does not have to, look one way or another. It doesn't have to have a self-destruct or anything of that nature. Yes, we have agreed, and that can change, to really ramp things up and even ramp it up even more in the next year. But just the fact of, and this we're doing of service, believe it or not, Todd, us going through these steps that we're going, because some people are saying, oh, we want to just ramp it up, but you're learning a lot from that, but you're also giving other aspects of yourself the opportunity to kind of complete their stuff. So the speed is taking in consideration kind of the whole. It's not just you. Of course, there's no restriction how far you go, but then maybe the playground won't totally match what you're projecting. But you're going to see at least the highest version of the playground, because there are many versions of the playground. That's why, depending on your vibration and whatever your frequency, the people you meet, the things that you are exposed to and so forth very much changes. But are you seeing what you dream as reality of heaven, or whatever like people want to call it, or the garden, maybe you know anything about nature? Well, that's something we do collectively, and we have to do it in the stages that best serves us at this point.
Far out. Far out. So, light body.
Yes.
Light body is becoming more part of our experience, and I was wondering, as I've been experimenting, and I'm sure other people have, had their different experiences, but it seems to be making itself known. I was wondering, like, are there things that you experience naturally that others don't, beyond the specific type of connection that you have, such as light body, or do you have any awareness in terms of what's that going to look like? I mean, the more personal, I guess, transformation in terms of the physical matter. I don't know if you can call light body physical matter, but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, do you have any insight into that personally, or just through intel?
Well, the thing is, if we're talking about light bodies, what's the difference with light body and the denser bodies? The lighter bodies, of course, are going to, run at a higher frequency and so forth. But what the light body ends up doing is the fact that a lot of the things that would normally burden the human experience, physical human experience, are not in that range to actually function. So you wouldn't have the same level of intensities and malfunction or anything of that nature. But it also carries a lot more information, and it carries much more spectrum of light, so that in fact it makes it easier to experience any changes within yourself. So that means that if you're going to be playing a certain way, you can get more into it rather than dragging a sense of being in a body that is very difficult to shift. It shifts very easily, and at the same time, because you're carrying that much more information, you're also streaming within yourself the multidimensional part of you, okay? And that multidimensional part of you actually re-enables a stronger connection to all others on the playground, and every part of what we would consider Gaia and all the sentient beings, but also within our solar system and galaxy, and all our brother system souls that are linked within our DNA. So the light body actually will be much more, even more impactful when it's plugged in where it is right now, because of the fact that you actually create like a powerful conduit of streaming that wherever you are, you're affecting others around you in such a powerful way that it will aid them to experience shifts. Are we going to feel lighter? Yes. We're not going to be governed by the older programs anyways. So the whole idea of seeing something and then labeling it something and actually sticking, it's only temporarily used, but nothing sticks. Okay, so that
no pun intended, I guess, right?
yes. So you become somewhat light body Teflon of sorts, where
I was just thinking of the jab. That's all.
Oh, right.
Yeah. Well, I think in respect to like what you just said, that seems doable, and that seems to be kind of coming into focus. And what I'm talking about is when you said the quality of the multidimensionality, the ability to be able to connect to a stream.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of how I feel it. I'm just dipping my toe in it, and literally trying to experiment and see what I can do and so on. But so I can sense that I have a little success, but I can sense that then I'll be able to somehow or another take what I consider my consciousness with my light body while I'm still functioning. It's a lot like what you said at the top of the show that I've noticed in myself and I've seen happening. I've talked about it a little bit, and that is what seems to be happening, and it's been slow but sure, is the ability to get back into, for lack of a better word, the routine. These things that you're talking about that we've changed our lives to go do, right? And this stuff keeps coming, right? So I was kind of going, okay, well, I can sit here, and I know when I got to integrate, but I can sit here and just be mashed potatoes, or I can get up and start doing my thing. And I think that's what you were talking about. And to me, it's the same energy, right? It's the same energy. We're doing that. We're starting to function basically while we're dealing with whatever's coming up, right?
Yeah, and things won't feel as heavy. It won't feel as challenging. It won't feel, in a sense, it's a burden. So you would be able to do the tasks. Things flow a lot easier. You will be able to see if it's something of real value or not, because as the light body, you can sense the feedback very quickly, and you can make a shift very quickly without getting all caught up in analyzing and finding changes. And you can be in the middle of doing something and you're still, processing stuff or doing whatever without saying, "Oh, I gotta stop." A lot of times, when you stop to, like you said, become mashed potatoes or something of that nature, it'd only be temporarily to just kind of, and I'm just using this as an analogy, catch your breath. But it's just a matter of just centering yourself, and that could take 5 minutes, could take a couple of minutes, or can take a little longer. But then you're back in, and you already feel refreshed. But the more you get into the light body, I mean, that's constant. You're refreshing all the time. You're like rebooting, resetting. No, I shouldn't say rebooting because it's not a complete reboot. But basically, it's like brand new. And it's like whatever you were doing, it just fades away, and you're just focusing. So you're more in the moment. You're more into that. But as you carry that higher light body, you don't have to maintain your body the same way. You don't need all of that. How do you call it? There's a word for it. All that support mechanisms and so forth. And I got to eat food. I got to do this. I got to rest. I got to do whatever. Because at that point, you're always energized and whatever. So if you're going to go into sleep state, it is just to have some time to be able to go explore the dream state, that part of the realm, and it's not a necessity where I have to go down and sleep so that I can recharge, because as a light body, you don't need recharging. You're constantly up and active all the time. You're because the energy is flowing constantly through you all the time, and so it changes the way. And of course, you carry much more information. Your body can store more consciousness, and at the same time, it's even more flexible to be able to do whatever you want to do. Because if you need to lift something, all of a sudden you have the energy to lift it, but it's not through effort. You just change the energy of what you're lifting so that it's not even heavy.
Are you able to do stuff like that?
Off and on. Off and on.
So that was going back, because we kind of went another direction, but back to the light body and back to what I was bringing up earlier about you, or anything that well, I know whatever you can talk about. So like listening to you now at the end there is a truth to, I mean, at a very quick rate, it seems that the light body's physicalizing. So how rapid do you think that will be? Like to where some of these attributes will be very noticeable?
Well, it depends. It all depends on us. Okay. Now, some of us have made an agreement not to have it happen too quickly, because you still want to play with other individuals that are not moving as quickly. So because you want to choose a role, because at that point in time, when you're in that, your relatability and understanding is less experiential and more of a knowing, right? And this is the thing, is when I was a young person, and when I was, before the adjustments happened after age 4, that was one of the things, was to lower, so that I would have more of a human experience to the same density that other humans were having, so that I could relate. And even at different times in older, because that went on for a long time, but later on in the years too, like even having the monkey mind, having the ego go on a rampage and stuff like that. I didn't find that for the majority of my life I had that, and I understood it because I saw it in other people, but until it happened to me directly, then, it's like, oh shit, this is what people deal with. No wonder it's so difficult,
It's like you talking to those formless beings in the other dimensions that you're talking about.
Exactly. So when it comes to that, I mean, all of us to some degree say, okay, I want to be light body, and I want to be able to do all of this stuff and go with ease. Some people will jump into it right away, but a lot of us saying, well, listen, I want to have part of that in there, but at the same time, I want to be still connected to, say, family, to friends, to this. Maybe not the same way, but I want to still be part of it, because I feel that I can assist them, or even have a conversation on Todd's show and be able to be relatable at the same time, and also provide something that I've learned from the transition and things of that nature. But yes, we are embodying the light body, because it's not going to be separate. You're embodying it, and that's what we're doing. We're more and more. How long is it going to take will all depend on each individual, and when they're ready to actually activate it. And if the ego mind is just saying, oh yeah, I want it today, you still have a higher aspect of yourself, the highest aspect of yourself, that's going to say, no. We've agreed to do this, and this. And that's kind of why I've only get a taste of it every so often, and I still have to have a lot of the human experience. And even the work that I've taken on, which my highest aspect has been very busy taking on a lot of projects, that it has to be done while still not using the same access to the light body as possible, because of the fact that most people are not there. And if you transmute it in that fashion, it won't be usable to the same degree, because how many people are, in that light body. So the thing is, the state that you're in, like if you're on a high vibe state, for example, your communication, your writing, your whatever is going to be very different than when you're going through emotional stuff or processing the emotional stuff. Yeah, it's great because it uplifts something, but when you're getting to the core of explaining the steps that you're going through and what's going on, a lot more people can relate to it and can say, oh, I can apply that in my life. I can do it this way too. And rather than, just having it look like it's way out there, right? Type of thing. And then it's not tangible for the individuals that are involved. So, a lot of the health issues, which, I've been going through and so forth. And I've started to, look into it, and I'm going, okay, why are we taking on all this stuff? I know we're transmuting it and doing whatever, but this got to be shared, because I'm not going to be doing this because it takes me out of commission. I mean, seriously out of commission. And some of the stuff is what's going on collectively that, so, and it doesn't matter, because there's times that it goes, oh, well, yeah, your body can handle it and so forth. And I'm going, yeah, well, so much for that. But I said, it is torture, right? So I'm not going to do it. And I can't go into light body to do it, because when I enter that light body, it dissipates. It's not there, right? And it's like, well, I can't transmute it because I can't even access it. It's like I turned the dial, and now I don't even hear or see or feel that older station. But that's where everybody's trying to tune in, and you're not there anymore. You're in this other station, and hardly anybody's there. So you got to go back to that station of sort. I'm hoping I'm making it clear, because
no, that makes some sense. And I guess at some level, the human condition kind of grounds all of us.
Yeah.
But this is a good explanation, like just kind of giving you a picture of how it works. But it makes sense, both literally and energetically, that you would have to be informed. It'd be like a brother, sister, star family coming down. They don't even, let's just say, whatever they look like or don't look like, they would have to take a form. I mean, it would make sense. Like, say, a humanoid holograph, in order to be accepted and have a conversation, versus, or maybe an angel, or, whatever. I don't know. But yeah, I could see the same thing.
Yeah. The thing is, you made an excellent point, and I'm glad you brought that up, because, the beings that do work with our brothers, sister souls that are from other dimensions and so forth, and never had a human body, even if they had it before, okay? Like, even in my own personal case, I've been on the planet before. This is the first full incarnation. I'm talking about the multidimensional soul, but it's been on the planet many other times, several times, as drop-ins. But even if it gained a tremendous amount of experience for, say, durations of those drop-ins, it is very different now than it was whenever.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? So, but even if the beings that have never been here, when they become a drop-in, and I've seen this and worked with people in the past about that, everything is foreign, and to them it's a shock, because of the fact that the body has a certain level of density and has not only restrictions, but also is overwhelming with information. I'm going to say something here. The level of input of information, sensorial response in a human body is massive in comparison to other dimensional beings. What do I mean? Levels and gradients of emotions. the severity and the intensity that we can drop into stories, programs, labels, definitions, and so forth. The five senses each have many gradients and many, many different inputs, which is not very common for many other species. So a multidimensional soul comes in, it has to learn its way through, and then at times it's going to be like, I'm getting too much input, like I'm having 100 channels of input. I'm feeling happy and sad. I'm feeling pain and anger. I'm feeling this. I'm feeling that. I'm feeling my toes hurting. Oh, why is my toe hurting? Why is this? And because that part. Now, I know the innate of the body will work to kind of share that, and also the human entity. But a lot of times for that being that drops in at that point in time, can get easily overwhelmed when the channels are fully open and all these surges of input. Like, look at our own lives. How many things do we deal with every moment? We feel a whisper of air, different sounds, different tastes, different everything, right? Which is, can be overwhelming if you've never experienced it before. So until you get adjusted to it. Now, the brain will process it in a sense, but the being, so that's why they want to be climatized with the body, and then they can relate. And then whenever they're presenting their level of perspective, view, and consciousness, that they can now package it in such a way to offer it. Like in my own personal experience, when my soul came here from a whole completely different universe and embodied this physicality, of course, it had to learn from it right from birth. But at the same time, it had to go through a complete conditioning so that not only is it relatable and understanding, but it could also communicate and have an appreciation to how the game is played, how it feels to be in a physicality, and all the related, and also the lineage connection, the connection to Gaia, and all of these things that unless there was a quality time spent and going through the stages, it's like, I'm here, but yeah, you're there, but how you don't know where we are. You can't appreciate what we're doing. Well, that's why we end up all having the chance of pain, pleasure, this, that, all of it. So that it's like, okay, now we have a good understanding of the game. Now, anything we tune, anything that we work with is not coming from way out there. It's coming from a genuine, you're bringing high ups there, but now you have to actually shape it so that it actually is relatable, but it's also in the same range of channel where everybody else is at, so that you can be of service in a quality state. So, I still had to do the same, challenges, stages of understanding, because I remember even years ago, there was sometimes that I started to, what's the word? I would share certain things, and people started to conceive, oh, you're not like one of us. You're not human. I used to hear that a lot. You're not human, and you don't appreciate what we go through and whatever else. But I did, but there were certain factors I had not experienced yet. So as I was sharing it, the relatability and even the deep understanding of the intensity or whatever that felt wasn't quite there. So people would isolate you in a sense. It's like, yeah, it's great to get that information, but how do we apply it, when you're going through all of this? So, all of a sudden, okay, great. And now I have to go through all these experiences. Do I have to tune myself a certain way to be able to integrate that as part of my experience? And then when it's shared, it becomes coming through a human perspective, a human life stream that is more relatable to the current life stream of the planet. Now, of course, where we are now, everybody's at different stages. So my work, your work, and a lot of other people's work, we're now opening up so much more, and we're just sharing and allow only the people that are ready. Not everybody's going to be open to what we share. Absolutely not. I know that, and it's like, how many billions of people are going to follow what Todd and all the speakers that come on, all the guests and so forth and sharing? Only certain people will, some are more relatable to others and so forth. But now it's not about the whole. You work with the ones that are actually open and ready, and those tune up so that they're serving others, and it just continues to spread. So eventually that all the ones that are, choosing to be an active part of this will align. And it's not all on the shoulders of one individual, whatever, you want to call it.
Good stuff. I think it would be safe to say that you have lived a life embodied that contained more multidimensionality as a conscious human being. Is that a fair statement?
Yeah.
More than most. Let me just put it that way.
Yes. Yes.
And so my question is that closer? And I have another question on what you were talking about, but is that closer to what others, is that one aspect of what the rest of us will start to experience? Some of the things that have been a part of this human incarnation, such as a higher level of communication, an ability to work with energy, which from the human perspective might be this table or chair, like you were talking about moving things. Do you think that these types of attributes will start to show themselves in others, or is this going to be moving into another range like you were talking to earlier, where all this stuff gets left behind?
No, everybody's going through a transition, and through the transition, yes, you're more of what it seems uncommon for most individuals become much more common, much more understandable. It becomes more of their reality of sorts. Like the stuff I stream, which is coming through my highest aspect, is there's two channels of consciousness. One channel is from the dimension that the soul is from. The other one is the human in its refined state, in its design state, consciousness. And the two kind of have to work together. So there's two channels of consciousness. But it also had to create a third channel, which was the one I had to learn here. And when I say I had to learn this, the aspect of me that is communicating through me had to learn through having the more denser version of the experience.
You're talking about the human aspect.
Yes.
Right. And somebody just said, I just want to clarify.
Yeah.
They said Franco does not have a human aspect. Can you explain that? But he does have a human aspect. That's Franco right there.
Right.
And he's explaining that, and she may know this already now, but you're basically explaining that was your way in the door was backwards, basically.
In a way.
We all got the human coming in head first, right? And you came in the other way. But you know what I mean? Like, do you think people, for instance, like, what's your relationship with your light body? I mean, I know everybody's different, and I'm just wondering, like, whether you can talk about it or not. I'm not trying to get you to talk about anything. I'm just trying to understand, are there things in your physical experience in this incarnation that are not normal? Well, I already know that answer. But like day to day, like things that, may not even make any sense to a human aspect only, right? But things that we might see coming online quick. And I don't mean quick like let's get it done. I just mean like it just seems like everything's moving so quick.
Mhm.
we'd start to see some signs in our day-to-day experiences.
Yeah, I mean, my relationship, first of all, with the relationship with the light body, it's there. I use bits and pieces of it. And at times I go right into it. Other times I want to keep it functional in the sense of the same level where a lot of people are that are in the higher parts of it. I mean, I get to see, because I know both parts. I know how the true human in its true state is. Like, I said this like 30 plus years ago to some of the events I was having at the time. And I would say it's like there's 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 this part that is like very relatable to source essence, really super evolved. And it's like there's so much there, but you can't even apply it here yet, anytime close. And then there's this other part that sees exactly our true design as the true human. And this is why we're shared that our body, when it's working a certain way, because that part is aware of it, because it was involved in writing the program and also creating the retooling of the planet Earth and so forth, amongst other engineers too. I'm not saying it's exclusive, and I'm not talking about Franco. It's not Franco. Franco is the human entity, the human representation here. But so I had both. So this is the real human. I know how that, and I always knew it, and it never left. And it's so, and then there was this higher consciousness that can make this all disappear because it knows right to the engineering. But then I had to create this one, the one that is communicating with you with these two channels coming in, that actually had to be more of what the human others are experiencing, which had to embody part of that reversed operating system and so forth. And so it's like almost there's three channels, but the other channel is just there as an experimental part, and that's the one that connects with the human. But so there's the pure human, the spirit, high consciousness part, and even the pure human is very high consciousness. And then you create this third one that now what's really going on is that you're bringing part of that higher consciousness, but really it's bringing humanity to its pure state with the upgrades of the others. So the pure human, and when I say pure human, before it got mucked around with and changed, we did not, like when people say it's human nature to be this way or that way, to me it was always like, you have no clue.
Mm-hmm.
That is not human nature. Human nature is not greedy. Human nature is not kill, destroy, take advantage, or anything of that nature. Human nature is not violent in any way, shape, or form. Human nature is not limited. Human nature is not, about, sacrifice or anything of that nature, or any of that. That's not human nature. When I used to hear that all the time, and still comes up once in a while, people say, well, it's human nature to be this way, and go, no, that's not human nature. That is the inverted matrix operating system that the ego adopted and made an illusionary version of what the human nature is, but it's not at all. Even the nature we see from Gaia is not its natural state. The animal kingdom is not in its natural state. It is reverting more to its natural state. But this is the thing. So I've always seen that part. I go, no, that's not how it is. We're not that way. In actual fact, when we are in our true state, we're very loving. We're very caring, very collaborative, cooperative. We are, our highest order is to create an environment where we all flourish. We get to play. We get to experience each other. We own, we don't control. We connect with not only one another, color, race, none of that comes into play. Genders, nothing comes into play. This is you, this is me. The fact of animal kingdom, we're one with them. Gaia, we're one with them. Every plant and so forth, we have a powerful connection and communication without any barriers. It's not like you have to sit and hug it or whatever it is. You wherever you are, you can communicate with anything, and everything is sharing. And that is that way that we, when got tuned to start off with organic 3D, we were able to go to organic 9D in dimensional consciousness and go from third density to fourth density, fifth density. And that was all designed to do that. But what we've been living is not that. And that's why I made it very clear even before, where people say, well, going through from 3D to 5D. No, we're actually going from inverted 2D, inverted 3D to organic 3D and organic 5D, depending on which ones want to play where for whatever period of time. So just to kind of bring all of that into perspective, at times I did feel as a human frustrated that people were still relating to what they saw as a way of life. Because the other thing is, when you look at it from a pure perspective, you see around you, it's a game. And it's a game to play, have fun, to learn from the game, to advance in the game, become more enlightened. And what is enlightenment? Bringing in more of your source consciousness to be representative in the playground, where everything changes very easily, fluid. There's no restrictions. We can create an illusionary restriction for a short period of time if you choose to kind of play there, but everything is changeable. It's not painful to let go of labels because you don't take on a label. And if you take on a label, it's like a kid. Let me give you an example. As children, you see sometimes children's role play. They go to the park, they're in the schoolyard, and they say, okay, I'll play this role, you play that role, and we chase around each other, do whatever, and play the role. And after it's done, the role is gone. They go play whatever other role that they play. And but they don't associate with that role, and they don't label it and say, well, I am this now. No, that's what I played. And that was great, but now I'm playing something else. So this trauma, this imprint of who or what happened to me or what didn't happen to me, that I'm good enough, not good enough, I failed or succeeded. In our true human state, it doesn't exist. It's like you see everything is a perfection design. You experience it. Once you gained what you wanted from it, you've enriched yourself by it, it goes away. You just let it go. It's like, I put on this shirt. I'm going to wear the shirt for the show. And I can take it off after I put it on. Oh, I got this shirt. I don't know if I can take it off. I'm going to lose myself if I do. People saw me on Todd's show with the shirt. Maybe I should wear it for the next couple of years. Or maybe every time I go on the show, I got to wear the same shirt. See, this is the thing. That's how the programs come in. We never took on programs. Programs were not. We didn't even have an ego that actually created those things, which was, it's an interesting experience. I'm not demonizing any of the stuff, and that's in our true state. So I'm giving you kind of tidbits of what our true operating state. Now, everybody has it in them. Everybody knows this, but, because of, everything that we've been experiencing, we kind of disconnected from that. And it seems like unreal, but it's coming more real. Some people say, well, when that comes in, what are you doing? Yeah, you're taking on more light. Yes, you're taking on more consciousness and more spectrums and so forth. But at the same time, what you're doing is you're bringing yourself back to your true design with its upgrades and so forth. And everything is serving. Because like I've always said, the new world is here, but we're the only ones that can turn it on or at least experience it. But why do we still hold on to a certain amount of old? Because first of all, we feel that we may not be finished with it. Others may think, okay, it's going to take a while to change. And others are saying, well, I want to be of service, so I want everybody to have the opportunity to kind of wrap it up. So there's a lot of different things and reasons why things play out the way they play out. So that part has always been there, and we all have it. But with me, it was always in the forefront. It's like I'm looking at this and I'm going, okay, I understand this and I understand that, but then I also understand this. So anything I share or what shares through me, which is my highest self, kind of blends everything in there and also makes it so that it's understood in this current context that we're in as we're going through these changes.
Very cool. I'm digging it. I had another one.
Okay.
Where is the dimension timeline? Where is the next space where there's no victim consciousness? Is that what we call 5D? How close are people? Because it seems like it's very close to me. And, just from a personal observation standpoint, I would think that if that is deemed accessible, as it becomes accessible in certain people's awareness, or as this thing starts or whatever, that they would be able to access that in full consciousness, I would think, at some point. Now, I don't know what that looks like, but I'm just saying with your with your intel, with your information and everything, what does that look like? Where is the next, what do you, well, I know we don't do labels, but is 5D the end of victim consciousness? Is victim consciousness strictly a inverted matrix projection and an ego perpetuation in the ego?
Yeah, exactly. Because in organic 3D and organic 5D does not have victim.
Okay.
Doesn't have disempowerment or anything like that. It's all empowered. The only difference between organic 3D and organic 5D, okay, it accesses a little less of the spirit consciousness, but it's still in a very natural, organic, physical representation. So organic 3D puts a little bit more focus on the sensorial component of the physicality, where the 5D a little less of that, but they're both higher consciousness than what we've been living. So you're right. The construct of victim, victimizer, good, bad, right, wrong, light, dark was all the inverted matrix and also the inverted 3D, 2D.
And
perpetuate. Yes.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And so it just seems like, it's just, I don't know, just rational. It just makes sense. You can see the sequence of it. If all this stuff is coming off of people, which is obviously just one way to look at their, development of a higher frequency range, then that's where I was kind of getting at with some of these questions is, and and I'm not saying it like I'm waiting on it. It just seems to me that at some point it's going to be, because it's been such a consistent, if not rapid growth, everywhere else, why wouldn't it happen in our physical experience? So when are we going to see some of these attributes as we go up in, what did you call it, the ranges, and within the range there's stages? Yeah. So that's what I'm saying, I guess. So I guess that 4D organic and 5D organics appeared. I'm sorry. No, we're really talking about inverted residual energy from the inverted matrix, and then you've got organic 3D, 4D, 5D, and all this up here. Organic 3D, you don't have victim consciousness.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't. Right. And I mean, Gaia basically has tuned itself to organic 5D, okay? But it's also created the platform as a transition to organic 3D, Okay. So that's just for a period of time. It's not, it's not going to host that for a long time. So eventually what we'll see in a short while, that you're not going to actually see the two in at the same time. But like what you were saying, we all have it available in us. Okay. It's just a matter as we're shedding off all of that, we're clearing out from our own energetic fields and our own operating system, that older stuff that we have had where we've, adopted ourselves in the inverted 3D, 2D type of environment. As we're shedding all of that, then that becomes more real. So more tangible of sorts, because it's tangible. It's already there. Okay. It's not uncommon. But at the same time, the ego will say otherwise. Our operating systems and labels and so forth says otherwise. Listen to this. The so-called control structurer of all this is playing the victimizer role. And then all of us are what? We're playing the victim role. But is it actually real? Or are they just projecting that? And then because we have that conditioned and programmed, we feel that, oh, now we're the victim. But the moment, this is one of the reasons nobody wants us to figure it out, because it's like this. If they figure it out, it's smoke and mirrors.
It's just the power of suggestion.
Yes. And that's why.
That's all it is. It's literally, and yes, I mean, I get that. And that's why I didn't mean to interrupt you. So I'm sorry. To me, it's plausible that for Todd, one day I wake up and this isn't even here. Now, a lot of the playmates or whatever are there where I wake up to, but like it's almost like it's like a game. It's like walking into a fantasy land. Mm-hmm. And I love what you said about the presentation and the power of suggestion. It really is literally programming. I mean, and it's also very plausible to me that some of the things that have been portrayed that occurred never did.
Absolutely.
I'm talking wars. I'm talking all kinds of stuff. There's all kinds of stuff. Sometimes I go, how do we not know if we don't wake up and everything's been swiped and reprogrammed? I mean, how do we know that 150, 200 years ago, the world looked totally different than we've been led to believe, So there's this, I think, like a process that's occurring, and there's so many zillions of representations of the movie that we haven't even got to the part. And when I say we, I'm talking collectively in humanity. We haven't even got to the part where we go, oh wow, so the whole thing is just a bunch of bullshit. It's just one big tapestry, and we're pulling out these little needle, points out of each one of them, and it's actually the whole thing. So I don't know. It's because that's where I look at it, and I go, okay, well, wait a minute. Why aren't we, or when will we see these attributes connected to, let's just say in this example, the light body? It could be any higher sensitivity or ability. Because if we don't, then I'm more inclined to believe we're literally going to wake up and I'll walk out into the lounge area of this giant mothership and go, holy shit, that was great.
Well, we're not really looking for that to be the case at this point in time. Some individuals may, but in most cases we're not. We still want to live our true reality, our true way of the human experience. Now, some have come here just to have this convoluted, projected, illusionary, non-formatted version of humanity, and then they will leave because that's all they came for. But others have came here and say, I'm not leaving. I want to see it go into its natural state because that's why I'm here. And this is why I've prepared myself and did whatever I needed to do. And there's a lot of people that have chosen that to do it in that fashion. So, for us to look at and say, well, here we are, do I bring any of this version of myself into play? Well, yeah, I want to still discover myself, because we don't really, for the majority of the people, don't really know themselves, don't know any of the real facets of themselves. They have an illusionary version of it and so forth, but they don't, because look at like you said, everything is projected. Look at how much energy, time, and resources are put towards programming humanity to believe an illusion that we're less than
99.99%.
So you're right that history,
yeah.
a majority of it was made up.
Vast majority.
Science,
all
geography, religions.
Yeah.
You're talking about any way of life that we have said this is how it was. The majority of it is not at all.
Well, and it's not even. Robert says, how do you control the timelines, get them to believe it? Well, we create the timeline. It's like you're a little kid. You go out to your backyard and there's a red ball. Now it looks just like a red ball, but that little kid's going to make that red ball into a whole universe, a game, or a weapon in a space war. You know what I mean? But this is a situation. That's what I was talking about earlier, where I think at one point, and of course it'll probably instantaneously combust, is where you go, oh, everything. But it really isn't everything, but it's everything that we look at. Because I've had this discussion with the trees out here, and they're like, well, we're here. We're here, whether it's the holy grid or it's the matrix grid, what matrix you're looking at, basically. But most of what we look at isn't is part of what's been presented. And then we're the little kid with the red ball and we start creating. But, it's fascinating. But I still, because I'm just that way, I look at it and I go, okay, like I'm playing with my light body and I'm having experiences. And it's not totally connected and explainable. But I can see where these things are starting to connect. And so then I look at the physical and I said, I know there's people around this world, and I'm not talking about the 1 in a million, there's a whole brigade. There's massive numbers. But anyway, that they would be exhibiting some of these things because the other stuff is coming on: telepathy, intuition, bilocation, just whatever. And even synchronicities and some of the stuff that you talk about, how, you get to that higher part of the range and things start coming to you. Like, the reflection becomes one of more ease and grace. So I see that. I go, okay, well, if that doesn't happen, then I'm figuring I'm going to bust through at some point, and I'm going to be basically in the company of everybody, let's just say in their light body or cosmic body or whatever. And while my avatar's gone or somebody else jumped into it, or they're still in here in their avatars. I don't know. It's like so wide open. There's even somebody with your level of intel, nobody really knows. And it's a beautiful thing because at the bottom of it, I'll just sum it up, is in some form or fashion, everybody whether it be physical, mental, emotional, whatever, has the handy, or wrong word, the gift, the blessing of the human condition. And it looks to me like the universe is going to make us absolutely 100% honor and respect and love that human, and we're not getting out of here. Something like that.
Yeah, I mean, we didn't come here to have what we call the light body. Okay, we came here to have the true form of this body, which incorporates some of the light body components to it. The thing is, what stimulates a lot of people saying, well, I want to get the light body, I want to get here and there, is because, first of all, there's a judgment of the human experience, but then they're also relating this human experience that this is what a human is, but it's not. This is the thing. And that's the realization that more and more people are discovering. They're also realizing that they're all free, that everybody has free will. And in fact, I just was conditioned to use my free will a certain way. It's always been there. And my sovereignty has always been there. So, like, for example, when you were saying the victim-victimizer part, some years ago, this like a decade or two ago, I kept saying to people, forget about forgiving anybody. Thank them, love them for the role that they played. Whoa, that ever started an avalanche. It's like, how could I forgive this person? I said, no, thank them, right? How could I even thank them when they did this and this and this? That's the operating system that says victim, victimize, victim, victimizer, right? So the bridging was the forgiving, but it never got you out of that experience. So when you come to that realization, and what you were saying earlier, you come to the realization that this is a game we're here to play, and we play to the terms that we choose to play, and we no longer have to give power to any programming and conditioning that we've took on before, then everything changes. And you're now going to realize, oh, wow, we're all friends. Hey, thank you for playing that dark role or playing whatever. I understand. We're fantastic. We're amazing. Let's go out and play some more, And it opens up things in a big way. And I know that a lot of people weren't ready for that years ago, but I've stayed stay true to that and saying it. Now people are finally getting it, because if you want to let go of a perceived story, say, let's give you an example. Your dad treated you a certain way, just as an example. You're going to hold on to resentment. You may have judgment. You may have ill will. You may even have, really intense anger towards this individual. But what does it do? It keeps you in the lower. You're not going to go up in higher frequency. Your vibrations, every time you think of that person, your vibration drops, and then everything avalanches that matches that vibration, and so forth. So what happens? You get to a point, you finally forgive them for the role. Are you totally free? No, it's lightened up. There's still the polarity part saying, I forgive. They still screwed up, but I'm going to forgive them. I'm going to be the grander guy or the person, whatever. I'm going to forgive them. I'm the bigger one. I'm the more, conscious one because I forgave them. Well, you still have the victim-victimizer there. It's just not as intense. But when you realize the truth of really what happened, that you were both playing a role, you asked them to play a particular role, you selected and agreed to go down that live stream for them to play that intensity or whatever that may be, then guess what? Victim, victimizer, right and wrong, good and bad, light and dark, does not exist. Now you see each other as beautiful playmates. And this is why I say to people, acknowledge your story, acknowledge whoever played the role, thank them, genuinely thank them, send them love, be in love with the person, and see them as an actual fact, another extension of you, and you chose to be in the playground, to play different roles, like two kids that go in the playground and one's playing the bank robber and the other one's playing the cop, or vice versa, cowboy and Indian, or whatever, those stories used to be from those days.
That's exactly what it is. That's
Yes.
exactly what it is.
Yes.
And so then even the perceived, like the story doesn't even matter to me anymore.
It isn't. No.
It really doesn't. I mean, it's like, okay, here's where we're at. I mean, that's true presence. I think, like, everything goes. It's like, this is where we're at. But given what we were just talking about, the whole perception of anything wrong, the perception of all these things that we spend our time, basically distracting ourselves or being in the program, conditioned into it, whatever. But they're just dropping and dropping and dropping. I mean, I would think we would see some effects. I know we will. Absolutely. I mean, if I think about, for instance, how many people, let's say, that are out there like you, like, I don't know, a lot of people that come on the show. Mm-hmm. I try to spend a lot of time researching. I think there's a hell of a lot of them out there, not maybe doing the type of stuff you're doing, but I think there's a whole bunch of them out there putting this stuff out there. And of course, you don't see it consolidated anywhere, but it's there. I mean, you've got to have some insight into that, I would imagine. The level of engagement, and maybe it comes through in your intel, like, for instance, don't forget to let us know what's going to happen. But the last time we talked, your reference to my question on, that whole two Earth thing, mm-hmm. that we were contemplating having a division. It was headed that direction, but it hadn't been decided, and it was still sounded to me like it was kind of up in the air. So using that as an example, mm-hmm. What is happening on that?
Well, it's still for us, the thing is, right now, we're experiencing the separation all real time right now. Everybody sees it. Everybody's seeing it. We're all experiencing for various purposes. One, to get lost in it, to get more caught up in one side, and the other side is to have a different appreciation and also see the transitional part. So it serves many, many facets while we're seeing the separation, but eventually it's no longer required. So you're in one or the other, and then eventually they both merge anyways. And the only reason that there is, so when we're talking about the inverted stuff, that stuff we won't see at all, and it won't even be accessible for us to even entertain that.
Yeah.
And so you either get on board on one or the other, or you're just not here, unless, there's a drop-in that takes over and says, okay, I'm going to now go to one of those two playgrounds, and I'm going to go and play there. So these are some of the things that we're doing. So the split of sorts and say, well, we're going to all be pulled off on a ship and brought to another planet and so forth. That was not a preference that was created. The thing is, we have the two channels, and the two channels are on the same playground. So basically, it's two movies in one theater. And it depends on which movie we're going to move in. Right now, there's three movies. So there's the inverted stuff, there's the organic 3D and the organic 5D movies. Now, of course, one feels natural for us, and that will be our home plate, our home base. But then we go, I'm curious to go see what's in this movie theater, and I want to go see there because while I'm there, I have experience. But eventually, by the end of 2022, going into 23, there's only really your home base, and your focus is going to be there. You're not going to even go into that other movie because that movie will be no longer at that movie house. It's gone.
Mm-hmm.
Type of thing. At the theater, it's gone, right?
Boarded up, shut down.
Yeah, exactly.
Liquidated.
Exactly. So that's kind of, that's how we have it mapped out right now. And like
Yeah.
you said earlier, and it's 100%. The timeline is fluid. There is no multiple timelines anymore. There's only the one. That's been like that for a while. So what we're doing, this is why anyone that even has, like, you can have somebody that's come from the future, because there are people that will embody a physicality and are from the future, meaning future. But what future is it? What timeline of that future? Now, all they can share is that they may have probably seen a bunch of different timelines and said, okay, if we go this timeline, it's going to look like this, like this, like this. But they, if they're going to be 100% transparent, they're going to say, these are all the probabilities, and we can learn from all these probabilities, but none of them are for real or for sure, because we're not on any of those channels. We are creating and tuning our channel and bringing in bits and pieces if we choose to. So the future, what is it going to look like? It's whatever we want it to look like. How is it going to get there? How is it going to impact us? Each wave of energy that comes in, after it comes through, and each one is not forecasted in a sense that this is what we're going to put out. This is the intent. We should be ready by then, and then we'll introduce it. But there's always a feedback and say, well, okay, what progress did we make? What do we adjust, and so forth? Because the timeline that we're on, basically our future, is based on how we're building it. So the intent, that's why I say the word intent. Our intent by this time is to achieve this level. We can make it a little sooner, we can make it a little later, or it can be slightly different. But that will always be because as a feedback, we're the ones that decide, even though you're not always conscious of it, decide how far we're going to go, what we introduce, don't introduce, and so forth. This applies to the collective timeline, and this applies to our own personal timeline. All these contracts, agreements, and so forth are all open now. There's nothing fixed. It is there for us to choose if we're going to even introduce it in our live stream or not. There is no fixed anything. And anything that was fixed, we can change at any point and say, okay, I'm not introducing this or not maintaining this into my, and this is the beauty, because it moves the purpose of all of this is that we want to speed up our advancement, our enlightenment process, and so forth. With fixed timelines, things move a lot slower. With karma, things move slower. The need for polarity, things move slower. So that's why we got rid of all of that. Yeah, are we still projecting it to some degree? Yes, we are, because it's still back in the memory. But the thing is, because we're changing so quickly, we're always going to plug in what we need, when we need it, how we need it, and we're not going to get attached to it. That's the part that we're purging also. The purging of attachments to our past. And that past could be 1 minute ago, could be 1 week ago, 1 day ago, 1 hour ago, 1 month, year, whatever. It's the attachment. So the thing is, as long as we're not attached, we move more quickly.
Yeah.
The more we hold on and drag any of the past, the slower it moves.
And even with attachment, that's what I always tell. There is no, you don't detach from anything. It's just another one of those things that we were talking about, one of those myriad of things out there enforcing the suggested programming and such. I've got to do one more show. I'm going to have to go get on my back. I haven't slept in 3 days.
Okay.
I enjoyed it. It's always good. You know that. Very good. And I guess I'll see you in a couple of weeks. Maybe we
Yes.
can catch up. Maybe we can catch up before then.
Yeah, absolutely. Anytime, my friend.
All right, brother.
Thank you for
Well,
all the space and doing all you do, and everybody go have a blast. Keep remembering that it's a game and we're going to have fun, and that's how we make progress. So just as a wrap up, the more fun we have with our current life, the quicker things move for us and the more open things. So we have a lot more resources that come to us.
Okay, so say it again. The more fun we have in synopsis, the more fun we have, the faster we get there. The
Yeah,
better
when we have,
everything. Yeah, I love that.
You see it as a game. You have fun with the game. You don't get attached to any of the games or any issues that have come up, and it just flows with ease.
There you go. Right on. All right. Peace out, everybody. See you later, Franco.